Hi, this is Kyle with Empire Security Cameras. I'm here to show you some of our new equipment. We have some H.265 stuff. I know it's been a while since we made a video. Some people have been emailing us, asking us about some of our new products. So we're going to start this year off with some new products. One of the new products we have is our H.265 stuff. We're going to have some new AHD products coming out. Later on this year, we're going to be coming out with AHD 3 megapixel products and AHD 4 megapixel products. I don't think anybody has been talking about that, so you'll probably hear that from us first. So I don't know if anybody is signed up recently for the elite program. I know we probably still have quite a few members that were signed up last year. I don't know, I haven't taken a look recently for this year how many we have in the elite program, but if you are in the elite program, then you can start requesting to beta test some of our new products, and one of our new products is going to be the 3 megapixel AHD cameras. So it's been a while since we made a video. This one we're going to be focusing on our H.265 stuff. Some of the other projects that we've been working on is we've been working with some Ubiquiti equipment, ubnt.com. We started a wireless ISP, a WISP. So if anybody has any questions regarding Ubiquiti, some of their routers or their switches, or their their wireless products, their sector antennas, and that type of stuff, feel free to email us. You can still get in touch with us at empiresecuritycameras@gmail.com. We've been working with DirecTV also. Part of the WISP, we've been installing DirecTV as well as the WISP antennas together, so that's been working out. But yeah, so we're going to be coming out with a lot more CCTV products this year. We're really going to be leading the way on the H.265 technology. So it's a new technology. Dahua has started to release it a little bit into the market, mainly overseas market, but we've been starting to see a little bit of the Dahua H.265 stuff in the US market. Hikvision also. They're a little bit further behind with their H.265 stuff. I mean, both companies, we install and resell both companies. So the Dahua stuff, we have a supplier in China. We also have a supplier in the US. For Hikvision, there are no resellers per se in the US, so we get it directly from China. I mean, we'll probably get in trouble because we have gotten in trouble before from buying from sellers in China and reselling in the US. Dahua and Hikvision, they don't want people to do that. But the problem is that the way that they structure their resale is not beneficial to anybody, because, and I'll probably take some heat for this from our partners that we buy from in the US, but also probably from Dahua and Hikvision directly, and they'll probably reach out to me directly. But if they're watching this video, then they can take this as constructive criticism. It's a struggle, because if they're directing us to buy their products through distributors, legitimate distributors in the US, and then there's people buying from China and reselling Dahua and Hikvision on eBay and Hikvision, and on eBay and Amazon for less than what we're paying from the authorized distributors in the US, then what are we going to do? I mean, even if we're buying the product for our own personal installations, it doesn't really make sense for us to buy it from the US distributors because we're paying more for it. And then if there's an RMA or a problem like that, then we have to send it back to the American supplier, and then they have to send it back to China anyway. So the RMA process is almost identical. So yeah, so to come back to the H.265, right now everyone's H.265 is not ONVIF compliant. So the cameras may be ONVIF. Our cameras are ONVIF compliant only in H.264 mode. So if you're getting our cameras in H.265, that means they're only compatible with our NVRs in H.265. Now the same is true for Dahua and Hikvision. If you get a Dahua H.265 NVR, you have to use it with a Dahua H.265 camera in an H.265 NVR, both by Dahua. You can't use a Dahua H.265 camera with our H.265 NVR because it's not ONVIF. They're not cross-compatible. You can't use our camera with a Dahua NVR. The same thing with Hikvision. Now Hikvision's strategy is a little bit different. Their H.265 NVRs are priced in the stratosphere. I mean, they're like $600, $700, $800 for a basic, 16-channel NVR, which is fine. I mean, Hikvision stuff is very good equipment, and they can charge a little bit of a premium for it. But what they're starting to do is they're taking their existing products, their 2 and 3 megapixel products that they're flooded the market with. I mean, these 2 and 3 megapixel cameras, you could buy them, for like $90, $100 on Amazon and eBay, and they're flooded the market with these cameras. And it's done a disservice for everybody because it's driven the price down, but everyone's kind of slashing prices and trying to compete with Hikvision. But I mean, there's subsidies that they're getting from different sources, where they're still getting a huge profit, but their operating costs are a lot lower due to certain factors. So they're able to sell to the overseas market, and then those cameras are ending up in the U.S. at a ridiculous price. You could find some Hikvision cameras on eBay and Amazon for $90, $100. Now, the main reason is because Hikvision's blowing them out to make room for newer products, which will be more reasonably priced. But and like I said before, they're getting help from outside sources, and their strategy is to price their cameras so low that to drive some of the competitors either out of business or to reduce their their cash reserves for R&D and stuff like that. So so the Hikvision stuff, their strategy is to upgrade their firmware on their H.264 cameras into H.265. Now, there's only one way to do that, and it's to take the Chinese firmware, because the Hikvision cameras you get on eBay is Chinese firmware that's getting flashed to English firmware, and then that's it. Because once you do that, you can't upgrade the firmware again. It's done, because it's at that point the warranty's void, and it's over. So what's happening is, if you have a Hikvision camera and it's the same version as it is on eBay, then there's nothing you can do. Because if you're really smart and you want to risk bricking the camera, then you can change firmware if you're familiar with the process. But if you brick the camera, then that's on you. But what people are doing is they're taking the Chinese firmware on eBay, and then they're upgrading the cameras that are in their stock to H.265, Chinese firmware to Chinese firmware, and then they're upgrading it to English firmware. So now you end up with a Chinese camera directly from China that has English firmware that's in H.265. So if you buy those cameras, then it's okay, because now it's in H.265, it's in English, but like I said, you're not going to be able to upgrade the firmware anymore. For the most part, your average installer, I mean, there's some Hikvision enthusiasts out there that, you know, get away with finding somebody that'll send them firmware and upgrading it, but even those people break cameras all the time, so it's not an easy process. So Hikvision's strategy is to take their existing stock, upgrade it to H.265, and then sell you, you know, a $600 or $700 NVR. And most of the Hikvision H.265 NVRs that I've seen aren't even really available outside of like a package. So, you know, we haven't had that much time to test them. So those are the three players right now in the H.265. We have our OEM stuff that works off of the CMS. There's a brand new CMS program. We'll show that in a different video. There's a brand new XMI app. We'll show that in another video. But it's our OEM H.265, H.265 cameras, and so that's our stuff. And then you have the Doppler H.265 cameras, H.265 NVRs, and then you have the Hikvision. So those are the three that are making it to market right now. And then I'm sure as the year progresses, that's really where the industry is going, is H.265. So the main reasons for H.265, the difference between H.264 and H.265, it's a video compression codec. So basically what it's doing is it's taking the raw video that's being recorded, and then it's compressing it. Now H.264 is a format that's been around for a while, that was started, you know, by for video production, not really for CCTV, but CCTV adopted it. So H.264, you know, has been around a while, and it does a pretty good job in compressing the data. So you know, that's been the industry standard for a very long time. H.265 is brand new, and on most cases in our testing, it reduces the bit rate in half. The bit rate is what's the most important. When you're talking hard drive space, encoding and decoding and playing back and all of this, you know, stuff, the frame rate, people get way over excited about frame rate, frames per second. I never really understood it, but the frames per second, people really focus on that way too much. But anyway, the frames per second, the bit rate, the encoding, the most important thing is the bit rate. Because the bit rate is what's getting transmitted and recorded to the hard drive and getting sent, you know, on your mainstream or substream over the internet. So your bit rate is what it all boils down to. So if you adjust your frames per second and you leave your bit rate, then that's where you're going to see, you know, problems in your video quality. So if you have a camera that's on 7 frames per second and your bit rate is at, you know, 2,000 kilobits per second, and then you bump that up to 30 frames per second and you leave your bit rate at 2,000, then the quality of your video is going to go down significantly, because although you've increased your frames per second, your bit rate is still the same. So your NVR or DVR has to record the same amount of data, that 2,000 kilobits per second. That's all you're getting in your encoding is 2,000. So it has to record, you know, 4 times more frames per second into that same, you know, box, the 2,000 kilobits per second. So that's what's nice about the H.265, is that you can keep the bit rate about 50% of what the H.264 is. So you know, on our new cameras, they're 4 megapixel. They can be used in H.264 or H.265. I will note that in H.264 mode, they are ONVIF compliant. So in H.264 mode, you can use them with any other ONVIF compatible NVR or CMS, VMS software. So we've tested our new stuff, our H.265 cameras, in H.264 ONVIF mode, on Doppler and in Hikvision, and, you know, Milestone, Avigilon, Video Insight. and it works just like our old stuff. It's the newest, ONVIF compliant, with motion detect and that sort of thing. So it works fine. So if you are buying one of our new cameras and you're concerned about it being backwards compatible with equipment that you already have, in H.264 mode, you don't have to worry about that. In H.265 mode, it'll only work with our H.265 NVR. So you have the option to switch that encoding inside the camera settings. So yeah, so we do have the H.265 equipment in stock now. It's not available on the website yet because our stock is very limited, because it is brand new. Chinese New Year is coming up very quickly, and that's a problem for a lot of suppliers. It's more of a problem for us because we rotate our inventory so quickly, and we're always using the next type of technology. We don't keep a lot of old technology in stock. Like, we don't carry analog, we don't carry 1 megapixel cameras. We always keep in stock what's next. We refresh our lineup a lot. So that puts a lot of pressure on our suppliers because, when something new comes out like the H.265, everyone's reaching for that equipment right away, and there's never enough to go around, and especially around Chinese New Year. Everybody's trying to get their stuff in the States before Chinese New Year. It's a mad scramble. So luckily we have a good relationship with a lot of our suppliers, so we'll get that stuff. We don't have to wait till after Chinese New Year. But that's why we don't have a lot of stuff on the website right now, because we don't want to oversell what we have, and we want to make sure our elite members get first choice in getting the equipment that they need to do their installs, because your customers don't care about Chinese New Year. They have no idea what Chinese New Year is. You probably don't even care about Chinese New Year, but you should, because everything's Chinese. Dahua and Hikvision are Chinese companies. So, there's a huge problem every time this year for Chinese New Year, and if you haven't run into it yet, you're really lucky. But if you notice in January and February a lot of your products being out of stock, and nobody tells you why, it's because of Chinese New Year specifically. And that'll happen every Chinese New Year, but you'll also notice it around when a new iPhone comes out or a new iPad, because what Apple does is they'll buy up all the airplanes and stuff like that. And not so much for the container ships, because all the Apple product comes by air. But if people are bringing stuff in by air, we bring right now we're bringing everything in by air. We haven't had a container come in a while, because of all the newer stuff we're bringing in by air. But so it really hurts us when a new iPhone or something comes out, because we can't get anything out of China for at least a week, because Apple takes all of the flights out of Hong Kong and mainland China for their iPhones. And that's a well-known fact for people that are in the export and import industries. So if you haven't run into that with your supplier yet, or you have and you're really not sure why every time in January and February why your product's out of stock, it's because of Chinese New Year, and there's not really much you can do about it. It's like a 2-month ordeal. Chinese New Year is only like a week, 2 weeks, but it's a mad scramble. Everyone's trying to order as much as they can before Chinese New Year, and then they're gone for a couple of weeks. But sometimes workers leave and then they don't come back. Sometimes it takes a while for the workers to. It's the biggest mass migration in the world. There's tens and hundreds of millions of people that are leaving the cities to go back to the country. So they all can't leave at the same time. So even though Chinese New Year is only a week, 2 weeks, they start leaving a week or 2 weeks before Chinese New Year, and then they start coming back a week or 2 weeks after Chinese New Year. So, then you have your 3 or 4 weeks that people are gone, and then there's like a month before that people are trying to get all of their stuff for Chinese New Year, and then there's like a month afterwards where everyone's trying to recoup all the business that they lost for not being able to get everything before Chinese New Year. So it's a big ordeal. it's up to the suppliers like us to kind of plan and get all the product in before Chinese New Year. But when a new product like H.265 comes out like right before Chinese New Year, it's very difficult because everything's getting compressed into a smaller time frame. Now luckily Chinese New Year this time was in February, because if it was in January or December, like sometimes it's in December or January, and then everyone's trying to get their hoverboards in for Christmas, then it's a disaster. Because if you're trying to compete getting cameras in by air with hoverboards and iPads, then forget about it. You might as well just stop selling cameras. So just a little bit of insight into the industry. I know a lot of you probably don't care, but now you know a little bit, behind the scenes of what happened, what goes on. So the H.265, I know there's a lot in this video, but it's been a really long time, and I want to make sure everyone's comfortable, with the whole situation. And we've been selling cameras this entire time. Our sales have actually been up year over year. So it's mainly due to our existing customer base, our elite members, the people that have been ordering from us and have been getting drop ships from the factory directly. We've been working with that a lot. So people are buying like 100 or so cameras from us with a couple dozen DVRs. Instead of bringing those in to our North Carolina warehouse, repacking them, and then using UPS to send them back out, we'll just make sure that they go through quality control twice, and then get sent directly to the customer with DHL, and then we pick up all the fees on our side. So we've been doing that a lot recently also. The turnaround time is a lot quicker that way, so if you do have a special order, special cameras, special housings, we can get that to you quicker. So our sales are up. Everything's fine. People are emailing us and asking us, you haven't made a video or you haven't sent an email in a while, is everything, you guys still in business? Obviously, yes. Like I said, we've been coming out with new products. I've been to China a few times. It's a long flight. So between that, getting the Ubiquity equipment, working on the wireless ISP, working with DirecTV. Recently DirecTV was bought by AT&T, so it's been interesting seeing the transition from DirecTV corporate to AT&T DirecTV corporate. I think it's going to be, if you're not already an AT&T dealer, I wouldn't get, if you're not already a DirecTV dealer, I don't think, I don't know if they're going to be accepting any more applications. I don't know. I'm hesitant to speculate about it. But it's a great time to be a DirecTV dealer also. With the backing of AT&T, the sales have really picked up due to the bigger advertising budget. Plus, there's other things that AT&T bring to the table as far as combining bills with your cell phone and bundling with local phone and Fios and stuff like that. Uverse. So there's combined billing now. So the sales have definitely picked up since AT&T came on board and started advertising more. So we've been working on a lot of other projects. I apologize for not making videos or that sort of thing, but we're in a point where now it's winter and everything else is kind of on cruise control, so we're going to be making a lot more videos, sending a lot more emails out, coming out with a lot more newer products. So it's an exciting time. So I'm happy that all the hard work that's been going into these new products over the last 6 months is really going to be coming to fruition now. So finally, here's the H.265 stuff. This is one of our H.265 cameras. This is the IPC1V. It's got the zoom and focus on the bottom. This is pretty standard issue. We've been carrying this housing for a while. These 4 megapixel chips, they are, I think they're two boards, maybe 3 boards. I forget. I'm sorry. I'll triple check that. But let's say they're 3 boards. Then there's a limited amount of housings that they can go in, because the 1 megapixel and the 2 megapixel chips were 2 board, which means that there was one board that all of the image sensor and the DSP and everything was on, and then there was the PoE board. So it was smaller, and you could fit it into more cameras. The 4 megapixel, the H.265 stuff, you have your imaging board, and then underneath that is the DSP board, and then underneath that is the PoE board, power over Ethernet. So it's 3 boards, and then you're kind of limited into what housings we can pack all that into. So the IPC1V, the regular IPC1, the ESC3 IP, it's in the email. IPC5, IPC6, a couple other models that we're thinking about coming out with, but we can special order cameras to whatever housing you need, as long as the boards will fit into it. So if you just go on Google and type in CCTV camera, and you see 100 different types of cameras, what they look like, all of those housings are available. They're all open molds. The aluminum factory produces them. They're out there for people to buy, and then they get painted, they get sent to you, and then you assemble them however you want. You can make them an IP camera, you can make them an AHD camera, you put the chips in and the IR boards, and then that's it. So if there's, if you don't like our cameras, the ones that, that we keep in stock, if you're used to something else, then just email us and ask us, if it's not a large enough order, and if it's something that you're going to order regularly, then, we'll just keep it in stock for you, and then, if we have, 20 pieces, and you're going to order 5 this month and 5 next month, we'll just keep them for you. And then, you decide not to buy them, we'll sell them to somebody else. It's not a big deal. So if there's something out there, like a different color, people ask us, can we make the IPC1V in black or gray? Yeah, of course. Can we make it purple? No. Can we make it black? Of course. Can we make the ESC3 IP in a gray? Yes, we can. You just gotta ask us, And people, they have their other suppliers. They're not buying cameras from us because they're in a different color. Just ask us. If you have something that you want, just ask us for it. If we can't do it, we'll just tell you no. But if we can do it and our price is lower, then it works out better for you. So yeah, take advantage of that. We're a distributor and we have a factory on, there. So if something needs to get built, customized, then we could do that. Other places, if it's not in stock, then they don't have it. But if you need something special ordered, we've even gone to the extent where if somebody's buying, 50 cameras and they need, one of them gray and one of them black, technically, when we buy the molds and we get them, powder coated, then it has to be 20 pieces. Well, if you're buying 50 cameras and we got to eat the cost of, 19 cameras to get you one in black, we'll do that. Maybe we'll use them for somebody else, but we'll keep them in the factory for a while. So just ask us. It's not a big deal. So this is the IPC1V. It's got the PoE at the bottom. This is the weatherproof type that you can crimp the Cat 5 or Cat 6 end on with the black twist on, and it'll make a weatherproof connection. The zoom and focus on the bottom, 36 IR, adjustable sun shield. The newer type of bracket that's a lot more robust, and the regular mount, this will fit on our extended base junction boxes. So this is the 4 megapixel. This is our 32 channel H.265 NVR. I have it hooked up to this monitor right here. Right now it's set up for 32 channels. I'm going to go into the menu. I know you probably can't see it, but I'll try to go through it the best I can, explaining it. In the digital menu, it'll show us, it gives you 3 choices. So you could do 24 cameras at the maximum at 5 megapixel. Now since these cameras are 4 megapixel, we're going to have to pick 5 megapixel because it's 5 megapixel or lower. So we can do 24 at 5 megapixel. We can do 16 cameras at 1080p, or we can do 32 cameras at 3 megapixel. Now some people ask me, well, I'll set the DVR at 3 megapixel and then I'll connect the 4 megapixel camera to it because it's close enough. Well, no, because the DVR is set, it's 3 megapixels maximum. You're trying to connect the 4 megapixel camera to it, it's not going to work. You have to pick 5 megapixel because it's 5 megapixel is the maximum, and this is a 4 megapixel camera, so it's more than 3, so you have to pick 5. So we're going to pick 5. It's restarting, and it'll come back in 5 megapixel mode. So while that's restarting, I'll go over some of the features on here. This is a 1.5U NVR. It has the toggle in the front to go between 1, 4, 16 split screen. It's got menu buttons, play, stop, fast forward. Right here on the front, it also has lights that show you the status of the hard drives if it's recording and the power, and then you have your standard up down light, up down left right menu switch here. It has a USB in the front. It has 2 USBs in the back, an HDMI and a VGA in the back, as well as a of course your Ethernet port, which is gigabit. So it's a gigabit Ethernet port. Alright, so now we have it set for 24 channel mode. It's ready to accept the 4 megapixel camera. I'm going to go into the main menu. I'm going to go into the encoding. I'm going to go into the digital channels. I'm going to search for this particular camera. Now by default, the NVR's IP address is 192.168.1.9, and the camera is 192.168.1.10. So the camera is up here, 192.168.1.10. We got it set up, and there we go. So now we got the camera. Alrighty. So right now, if we go into the encoding, this is set up for H.264 mode. So it's got H.264, 4 megapixel, 23 frames per second, variable bit rate. Let's set this to a constant bit rate, and we'll put it on 2863. So the frame rate, let's bump that down to 15, and then the bit rate is 2030 now. Alrighty, so I know that it's hard to see the picture and between the camera and then this camera and then the monitor, but there are some compression artifacts in the picture, just because the bit rate on a 4 megapixel camera, we're going towards the low end at 15 frames per second. I mean, the reference bit rate is between 1015 and 6768. So the 2030 is at the lower end of the reference bit rate. But I mean, it's reasonable. I mean, it's not awful, but there are some compression artifacts in there. Now we can go in there and go into the encoding and then change this to H.265, and it's going to take a second to restart the camera. Just give it a minute. The camera's got to reboot here. Okay, sorry about that, guys. We had to restart the NVR and get the camera synced up for H.265. It's best to change the encoding and then reset the NVR. So that's what we had to do. Anyway, so we have the camera now at 4 megapixel H.265, and like I said, I know it's hard to see with the TV and then the NVR through the TV, through the video and everything like that. But now we have the 4 megapixel at H.265 at the 20 at the 2030 bit rate, and there's very little compression artifacts. So you can reduce your bit rate on the H.265 without reducing your video quality almost at all. In our testing, we found out it's about 50%. Now technically it's supposed to be around 40%, but we've been able to achieve about 50% on the H.265 compression. So yeah, we've had really good luck with it, and we've tested it for a while, and we've really, I mean, obviously it's going to be the next standard for security cameras at H.265, so we're excited to see the future with it. But yeah, with like the rest of our cameras and our NVR, it uses XMI, CMS. The menu is identical to the menus that we've had before. In the encoding, you can change the frames per second, you can change the resolution, you can change between H.265, H.264, you can change the bit rate. You can also go into into the NVR and change the IP address of the camera. Let's see what else in here. Oh, very important. This is actually very important. I almost forgot to mention this. In the display settings, for the resolution of the monitor. Now this is not the resolution of the camera, because this NVR can only record up to 5 megapixel. So I don't want this to get confusing. But this NVR can output at 1080p, and it can also output at 4K. So if you have a 4K monitor or 4K TV, then this DVR via HDMI can output the video from the NVR at 4K. So this NVR is not a 4K NVR as far as the IP cameras. Those are coming, later this year. At first, the 4K NVRs are going to be H.264 and then H.265, but that's a long way off. For reasons with the chip suppliers, specifically Sony. I don't like to point fingers, but Sony's really dropped the ball with this H.265 stuff. So this NVR can output a 4K image to a 4K TV. So that's important because if you have, because 4K is essentially 4 1080p pictures side by side by side. So if you had 4 1080p cameras and they were in a 4-screen view, then that would be a 4K picture. So you'd have a 1080p camera, a 1080p camera, a 1080p camera, and a 1080p camera. And each one of those 4 boxes would be 1080p resolution. So it wouldn't be pixelated or anything on a 4K TV because this would be outputting 4K and your monitor would be 4K. So that's another feature about this NVR. Very important. Very, very important. Yeah, I mean that's a 4K monitor up there, but this is a 1080p monitor. I figured that one would be too difficult to get in the shot. So I mean, at some point in the future, we can set the 4K monitor up to the NVR, but like I said, through the video, it's very difficult to, you know, get this stuff set up. Alrighty. So with that being said, if you have any questions, I mean, we'll be making a lot of videos, so if you have any questions and you want to see us go through some more features of any of this equipment, let us know. We'll put it in the next video. This equipment, this equipment that I have right here, this is going to go out in the field with me tomorrow. We're going to hook it up to one of our wireless facilities, and then we'll let the 4 megapixel camera go out in the field, and we're going to put, I don't know if we're going to put the 4K NVR in the office or the warehouse or off-site, but it'll be available by this weekend for live view. So we'll port forward it, we'll give you the static IP address, you can see it on XMI, you can check out the settings, the H.265, so we'll bring that function back. We're not going to post any of that on the website. You know, we don't want to bog down the web traffic, we don't want to bog down the NVR, we don't want people putting stupid settings and changing, you know, the on-screen display to Empire Security is the worst and stuff like that. So, you know, if you need the IP address, you know, we'll put it in the email, or you can email us and we'll send it to you. You know, we don't put restrictions, you know, we don't want to put a restriction on the NVR or the camera saying that you can't adjust the on-screen display or you can't adjust the recording settings, because if we're trying out equipment, we don't want restrictions. You know, I don't want to go into a setting and say, oh, well, I don't have the permission, you know, to change that. So, you know, we're going to give you administrator access to the camera and the NVR. So please don't put swear words on the OSD. You know, that's ridiculous. You know, don't invert the camera so it's at like a 90-degree angle, so when people go to look at it, they think the camera's broke. I'm sure now that I've said that in the video, you know, I'll look at the feed every day, and the thing will be upside down, and it'll, you know, people will be cursing at us. But I respect everyone enough to, I hope that doesn't happen. You know, we'll leave everyone have administrative access. It's fine. So yeah, so if you made it through this video, thank you. Appreciate it. And Jessica, you know, she's not one that likes to be in front of the camera, so I'm sure, you know, if you've talked with Jessica or emailed with Jessica, you know, she's around, just not on camera. So Jessica's here as well, and you know, the guys in the warehouse and the guys overseas. Guys overseas won't understand a thing you're saying unless it's in Mandarin. If you know Mandarin, shoot any messages my way for them, and I'll forward them to you, to them from you, in Mandarin, and they'll get the messages. I won't be able to read them ahead of time, so just make sure they're nice. Anyway, thanks for supporting us. Thanks for being with us this entire time. Thanks for your patience while we've been working on this new equipment. Our phone number is the same, our address is the same, our email is the same. Our phone number is 914-338-8639. We use Ring Central. I would highly recommend anybody use Ring Central. We resell it, so if you want to buy it from us. It's ringcentral.com. So our phone number is 914-338-8639. Our email address is empiresecuritycameras@gmail.com, and our website is empiresecuritycameras.com. Once again, this is Kyle with Empire Security. Thank you, and thank you for viewing this video.